Good morning. So today we are doing the spark plug tubes and the spark plugs on the 911. So let's get started. We're going to first remove the rear wheels to give ourselves a bit of room, and we'll jack up the car and get to work. Anyhow, now the trick that I have to jack the car up, because it's so low I can't fit the big jack, so I use this small one, raise it from a jack point back here, just enough to get a larger jack underneath the back of the car where I can lift the whole thing up and then put two jack stands. So that's what I'll do now. Spark plug tubes, we've got one for each cylinder, and new spark plugs. Alright, so now that we've got the wheels off, our first step is to remove this heat shield that's covering our access to the spark plug wells. So we'll take those two 10mm bolts off, and then we should be able to start disconnecting things. So I can already see why some people recommend removing the mufflers when doing this job, because when they're in place, it really restricts access. So I got to get back here for some of these bolts, and some of the spark plug tubes are going to be behind there, and there's barely enough room to put a hand, let alone a wrench. Anyhow. Okay, so with the heat shield removed, we have access to the coil packs that are here. There are 3 of them on each side, and it looks to be an 8mm bolt that we've got to remove, one on the bottom and one on the top here. And we'll also disconnect by removing the wire that's here, pulling it back a little bit. It should be just a matter of pressing on this tab. I'll probably use some needle nose pliers, and I can't hold the camera while I do that, but I'm not too concerned about removing this. So I've removed the first coil here on the passenger side, and it's perfectly clean. And I'm looking in the spark plug well, and it's perfectly clean too. It's dry, there's no oil. So I'm now hesitating about whether or not I bother changing the spark plug tube. I mean, if it's not leaking, I'm not sure I want to change it now. I might just take them out and see which one's leaking and only replace that one. So we'll get to it. Okay, so we've removed all 6 coils, cleaned things up a little bit. Some of them were hard to get, but it wasn't the end of the world. So now it's time to remove the spark plugs and then we will remove the spark plug tubes. So here we go. The ones I just removed, they are in good shape. I couldn't tell which one of them was leaking, although there was one that seemed to have more oil in it than the others. And that would have actually been the easiest one to get to. So I probably could have just changed one. But all three on the driver's side are done. And I'm just struggling with the last one on the passenger side. You see, here's a new one here and a new one there. And one in the back that you can't see. And so I just need to get the last one out. I can't find my magnet, and so I'm having a hard time getting the spark plug out of the third one on the passenger side. So I'll do that now, and then I'll be able to put the last one in and put it all back together. Okay, so this is the last spark plug tube. It's a little tricky to get out. It was on the passenger side at the far back. There really isn't much room to maneuver in there. Anyhow, finally got it. As I said before, I can't really tell which one was leaking. Like, there's a bit of oil on it now that I take it out, but whether or not that's just from removing it or if it was actually leaking is hard to say. But in any event, we got it. This tool works really well. What I did is I took an old screw. I don't even know where I got this from. It was very long, and I cut it so that it was short enough that I could fit it between the exhaust and the spark plug tubes, and I just slid this end in until I felt the tip of the spark plug tube through the inside like this. All of a sudden you feel the ridge and you just pull it out. So that worked really well. You pull pretty with quite a bit of force, although I didn't even need to use anything other than my fingers for the front 4 tubes. And then for the last 2, I put it in place and used some pliers to yank it out the last part of the way. Alright, so moment of truth. We just put the spark plug tubes back in. New spark plug tubes, new spark plugs. Everything's back together. Let's see if it starts. And no check engine lights. We are all good. Fantastic. See their wing, and the trunk is open. No check engine, everything's fine. Fantastic.